everybody, and welcome to episode 353 of the Saturn Studs Podcast. I am Kurt, joined once again this week by my interracial, trust me on that one, co-hosts Peter and Jake.
Yeah, Jake is Italian and Italian. And I'm just a whole bunch of things. Yeah, this is the raindrops are falling on my head edition of the cast. Shout outs, rip in peace to Burt Bacharach.
Oh, I did not hear about that.
Yeah, noted pop legend. And for us, for most people our age, known best for a single line and a short scene in Austin Powers. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Burt Bacharach.
And he plays his hits.
It's a wonderful scene.
Burt Bacharach plays his hits.
I'll always remember it fondly.
Well, you know what? The most surprising part of that thing, actually, now that I think about it, is that Burt Bacharach was still alive as of yesterday. He looked like 90 in Austin Powers.
Yeah, I think it was either 94 or 84.
He was born in 1928, so 94, yeah.
My lord. Oh, my lord.
He looks very frail. Yeah, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. Imagine like growing up in the Depression and making it all the way to start to being a part in an Austin Powers movie.
I think the fact that he's a famous musician really is
No, he lived to see Minions from the Dust Bowl. He's truly a time traveler.
He was born the year before Anne Frank and lived till today.
That's okay. We're reviewing a really dumb movie this week, so anything you say is like
theme, yeah.
Miles above. For free? I don't know. I think it's the McFlurry, honestly. You could kill a man by just showing him an image of McFlurry. It's like looking at the Ark of the Covenant. Can't survive. Like, God forbid you show him a fillet of fish. There ain't no square fish in these 13 colonies. How you?
Wait, 18th century or 1800s? Because 18th century, even showing them a picture of anything, they will be floored by the picture aspect of it. Is that even a thing? Well, I'm sure it's possible, but like, is it like a guarantee? Because
it's a lot easier when they're like an 18th century Southern belle with like a corset that brings like their fucking waist down to a single centimeter and they get no blood flow to the top half of their body. What if I get a coma? I get a coma. Oh, Im- is that the next? Is that the next? The sequel to this, Imama Mia?
Mamma mia.
That's the next. That's the next one. It'll never work between between the
It'll
Italians and
never
anyone
work between
else.
the Italians and other Italians. Oh, it's no secret.
This
Was he ever in a movie with Bobby De Niro? I don't
Reagano,
think so.
Ronald Reagano. They say Kennedy was the first Catholic in the White House, but we know. I know they're. How do
There's,
you feel about the Irish Catholics? How do the Roman Catholics feel about the Irish Catholics and vice versa?
I think the Irish Catholic is pretty much like the model Roman Catholic, just with an extra dose of shame that can only be brought on by generations of hardship and famine. Because clearly the fact that you weren't pious enough is the reason the whole country starved to death in the 1800s.
So, the Blar- the Blarney Stone was so cute, and they won't take it into their lives. I think so. I don't know. Maybe we'll achieve world peace. Like we have we have Catholics for the potato starch. We've got Catholics for the wheat starch. Now we need like Catholics for the rice starch. You know, and one to cover all the grains. One one religious faction for every grain, and then we can achieve was it pan pax pax eternum bread peace.
Pasta
The the
salad?
pasta salad, potato salad pot. See, that's why that's the power of America. They say it's a melting pot. I say it's a picnic that both has both macaroni and potato salad in it.
The analogy my history teacher said is it's a lot more of a salad bowl than a melting pot. Well, it's together, but it's not really one
Mhm.
cohesive whole.
Who's the in the salad bowl in the salad bowl of America? Who is the single pepperoncini? Put in. Mhm.
Well, it's before the pasta. It's
It's
anti-pasta.
preposterous. Yeah. Mhm. It's my favorite Family Guy joke.
It was of lettuce though, but yeah.
Yeah. No, I yep. I do like that you insinuated that food is a subset of lettuce. like lettuce is of a greater organizational category. Like, speaking of lettuce and food in specific,
if we're gonna really narrow it, laser focus in.
like lest we forget all the non-edible lettuces out there. For example, let us go that Moses said.
Well, depending upon who you ask, all versions of lettuce may be inedible.
I wonder who.
No, I'm fine with lettuce.
Yes, right. What? Classic rabbit food, but not Roscoe's chicken and waffles. I need more chicken and waffles in my life, honestly, just as a food thing. Just doesn't happen enough. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, we
it's
got
good.
access. I mean, we got the bagel meta. We came into the bagel meta, so like I can't complain too much.
That we did.
It's powerful.
I can't fucking
The customizable options, like if like it's a testament. Like waffles never had the variety. Like no one makes like a cream cheese and like cinnamon and like raisin waffle sandwich, but I will see families, packs of families, devour cinnamon raisin bagels with like olives and like covered in sea salt on them and raspberry jam. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, they went for a particle and matrix kind of composite instead of a laminated sort of form that you find with your bagel. Wait, oh, before we talk about Trae Watch, the segment of the show where we talk about trailers, I just want to throw this out to everyone. Door donut Oreos, where you take a chocolate donut, two halves of a chocolate donut, and you spread frosting between them. I wanted to call it Doritos.
We've been doing this show too long. We both instantly knew where you wanted to go with the name.
Oh, man, I will, and the last thing I have to reveal this.
Well, we didn't.
It's like a face
answer your
reveal, but
question.
maybe more damning. I'm not a double stuff guy. My stuffs are single. I like my stuff single. I'll even foray into the thins.
That's not. No, that's not an acceptable human behavior.
I'm a cookie man. Cook. I'm a cookie boy.
But with the thins, the cookie is also thinner.
Is it?
It is.
Oh,
because they have double stuffed thins, which you would think would just be a regular Oreo. But in fact, the cookie is thinner.
I want to go to the Oreo website and I want it to be like McMaster Car, where you have the the 5 drop downs for your cookie thickness, your stuffing thickness, your cook, and all the types.
that, that's already what it is. It would be not enough cookie in that situation, wouldn't it? Because they put extra bits of cookie in the cream.
Oh, I hope they still make quad stuff. Just the obscene creation that was quad stuff.
Which is more stuffed? Please tell me it's mega stuffed.
Different sizes of Oreo.
We're never going to get the trailers.
We're never, yeah.
As soon as I said double stuffed thins, I think that was it. I think this show became about Oreos.
Oh, this wiki is, it's too much. Oh, the Swedish fish Oreos. All right, this is a rabbit hole that is, in fact, too big. It's too stuffed.
It's
for
too
us
deep
to go down. We have to talk about Air, the Nike Air story.
On Trae Watch.
On Trae Watch, the segment where we stuff our trailers.
We stuff trailers in between two delicious cookie crisps. Not the cereal, but like crisp cookies.
Oreo O's. Oreo O's is a cereal. I love Oreo O's. Is that what we're calling Ben Affleck and Matt Damon?
This has to have the most interesting ensemble cast I think I've ever seen.
Yeah,
he hasn't done anything in years. But you got Matt Damon and Jason Bateman. That would be weird enough. But then you have Chris Tucker in this. You have Viola Davis, fresh off of finishing up the EGOT. Although I will say that her Grammy was for narrating her audiobook.
Okay.
Does that really count?
Like the cursed nature of her film appearances over the last few years.
Yeah, like I'm like, if that's a thing now, it really devalues the G part in your EGOT, because any asshole can write a book.
Egg it. I got it. Yeah, no. Of all the people I thought would get EGOT, I wouldn't think it'd be Viola Davis. Anyways, I implore you guys to watch this trailer without sound and look at some of these facial expressions, especially like Matt Damon. He makes some goofy faces in this. So this is directed by Ben Affleck. And my main question is, like, they wanted to do like a Ford versus Ferrari, I feel like, where it's like a corporate kind of like story. But
I mean, yeah, like there are other movies that fit that description, but yeah.
Yes, but that's the first one I came to. I think partially because of the Matt Damon connection
Matt Damon
there.
was also in that, yeah.
But I don't know how much this feels like that, but they're less subtle about like this is sponsored by Nike. This feels more to me like it's going to be a Nike commercial more than these things usually are.
I don't know that I agree. I think it's just kind of the way that this movie was going to have to play out, similar to how, I wouldn't accuse the founder of being a big McDonald's commercial, but McDonald's is in literally every scene of that movie.
Yeah, but there was also so it depends on what kind of drama there is in this,
Yeah,
because it really, from the trailer, it really doesn't seem like there's going to be any conflict. It's like, oh, I got Michael Jordan, I got the shoe deal. Wow, the shoe deal is great. What are we gonna call? for free.
Well, I mean, they could show. It depends on how much in the beginning they show, like how much the company's struggling. Because the whole pitch here is that, well, I'll read it right from the description. This moving story follows the career-defining gamble of an unconventional team with everything on the line. The uncompromising vision of a mother who knows the worth of her son's immense talent, and the basketball phenom who could become the greatest of all time. Who would become the greatest of all time?
Mm-hmm. My so here's my. I'll put this out here for people to speculate on. Will they make the first shot of this movie like people standing in, or the opening credits, people standing in like the lines, and the rush, like the ongoing horde that wants to get Nike Airs, like, because
No, that's end credits.
okay,
I think it's going to start with a young Michael Jordan shooting hoops late at night in North Carolina. And his dad's going to come out and say, "You still out here shooting, son?"
it's just the exact same opening. It just diverges.
They use the same footage from Space Jam. It gave me a little bit of like Wolf of Wall Street vibes.
Yeah.
There was probably one called. There's probably that's either one is probably a real thing.
I think that's the Ashton Kutcher one, I think. Yeah. I'm See, you got to look up Steve movie.
That's a Minecraft film.
Yeah, it's 2015 Steve Jobs, the movie with Michael Fassbender, Kate Winslet, Seth Rogen, Jeff Daniels.
Jeff Daniels has done a lot of serious stuff.
Okay. Okay.
It's kind of like Jonah Hill and Moneyball, you know, just completely different to everything he'd ever done before.
I typed in what movie was Jonah Hill in, and it auto corrected to me what movie was Jonah Hill Jin. And no, he does not have a gin. It's just sent me to War Dogs. That's the one they want me to know. He was in. Yes,
Yeah, it's a popular.
We've taken a perusal over them.
They got pretty much all your bases covered. You know, you got vodka. You know, Jay-Z or P Diddy rather. That's Ciroc, and you got
21 Crimes.
The
right?
Rock's
That's Snoop's.
tequila.
Yep.
Yeah, Aviation
Snoop has
Gin.
a red wine. There's the Breaking Bad tequila.
I guess proper. Well, he's not an actor. Conor McGregor's not an actor, but I'm sure there's some actor that owns a whiskey. So all these people having fucking tequilas.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Here you go. Okay, Matthew McConaughey has Wild Turkey. That's
That's his. I
or at
fucking
least the Long Branch like sub brand or whatever. Bob Dylan as Heaven's Door straight bourbon whiskey. You can get the Bob Dylan. Bob Dylan. Conor McGregor, obviously, with the proper number 12.
which is and very
Oh,
expensive.
shit. Nick Offerman kind of sponsored or signed on for a Lagavulin. I don't know how to pronounce Lavalin. Yeah, charred oak. log flume charred oak cask. So I guess there's like his signature.
Ugh, Scotch.
Wasn't
Yeah, Ben Affleck doesn't strike me as a
Nescafe.
tequila drinker. Yeah.
Oh no! All right, I'll give you bets. John Cena has sponsored an alcohol. What kind of alcohol do you think it is? You won't guess it, and it's not Baijiu.
I was about to say it's probably something Chinese. Uzo.
Nope.
Unicum.
No.
I'm naming all the obscure ones I know because you said I wouldn't guess it.
It's more mundane than you'd think, but
Sake.
Nope. All right.
Aperol.
Canned old fashioned. Pre-mixed canned old fashioned.
I feel like that's a cheat. Because we weren't. How are we gonna?
That's why I said like you're never like why okay. And why would a celebrity sponsor like fucking canned cocktails?
Yeah, well, celebrity might be stretching the term.
That's downgraded him. All right. Next trailer. Strays. It's the funny talking dog movie, but they say it swears.
This movie looks terrible. When they're doing the talking, it looks so bad. And like every scene of this is these dogs. I don't know if they're animated or just like poorly green screened into the environments.
Could be both.
But none of these shots look real.
I could see why you'd be mad at that because that's the whenever a movie needs to like get quick edgy heat, they have their characters do drugs and they do a drug sequence. You know what? I would have. This premise doesn't necessarily suck. I would have done it as like Air Bud, but like a gritty sports drama, but it's Air Bud. Like I want to see like Labrador Retriever getting like steroid injections, PEDs. Like the cat gets into too much catnip and has like they go on like a bender and they spend the weekend in in county veterinary. It's like a scandal that's all over the papers.
Yeah, I don't know who in the boardroom. Like, this is a weird movie because Hollywood is very risk averse these days. They want sure money making things. So how is it that someone walked into a boardroom and said, "I got it. Homeward Bound meets Look Who's Talking, but R-rated."
Will Ferrell, yeah. And even as Will Ferrell, like, what if you just did semi-pro, but with Air Bud, and Will Ferrell's right there.
Will Ferrell and Will Forte, both the Wills.
Mm-hmm. Is this Netflix?
I don't think so.
No. I guess there are people who are just really into like Homeward Bound,
Well,
and who's this like resonates with.
there are. I mean, yeah. I mean, like a lot of people. It's not uncommon to have liked Homeward Bound or the Beethoven movies as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
They're VHS collection staples, and there are people, sick people, who want to see now that they're adults, like what they perceive to be adult versions of things they liked as kids, but their perception of what makes it adult is not like complicated stories and characters or like morally ambiguous situations. Their idea of what makes it adult is extremely crude humor. Imagine
I'm
that.
looking. I'm looking at these comments, and these ones are. We are dealing with some night. You can count the IQ on your hands.
Some sycophants.
Well, I gotta find one. Yeah, I swear this is going to be the funniest rated R comedy film I've watched since Ted movies. Since at first it looks like kids film until they show it that R rated in the beginning of the trailer, which felt unexpected, but deep down you know it's going to be a damn good movie. I know this is a comedy, but halfway through the trailer, I just want to bawl.
There was a time in my life where I I could get excited and enjoyed shit like that. It must be nice to be able to permanently live like that.
Right?
Well, I think I actually read that comment, and I believe what they were trying to say is that the dog Will Ferrell voices is the same breed as Baxter.
Mm-hmm. Oh boy, Anchorman 3. If they can get Alex Jones on for Anchorman 3, I mean that'll be what they need to do. Like they like even cable news isn't doing it anymore, so they
Yeah,
have to
it's Ron
turn into
Burgundy in the digital age, but they don't make up Will Ferrell to look any younger because Ron Burgundy should be like 90 years old in 2020. So
absolutely. And he has to do work for one of these like super like out there fringe political news sites.
and you're saying that a pedophile ring under a pizza parlor? Are you sure about that?
I've eaten pizza before, and as far as I know, it's just a cheesy Italian treat.
Oh, you know what? You know what the movie is? It's Ron Burgundy as an Alex Jones type, but instead of being like really cynical and like mean spirited and manipulative, he's just like really oblivious.
Yes. Yes. Oh, I'm seeing it now. It's perfect.
Hey,
Like
Will, call us up.
Anchorman 3, baby. The, this is you're here for the knowledge brawl. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Like he just sees things that are weird in his everyday life. He's talking about it and just slowly turns into like crazy conspiracies. Oh, It would work perfectly for his
I
character.
mean, back in the 70s, that's what we called them, Chinamen.
Apparently, you can order Girl Scout cookies online.
Of course you can.
Uh, it's
It's a cookie
my.
company. It's not
I'm destroyed. I know. I guess I gotta order. I need to order some Samoas.
does not provide enrichment for the young women in it.
No, much.
Jake, it's still 15 cookies. I agree. I agree. They do not give you enough of any of them, really. Well, the only one I like is tagalongs because fuck Thin Mints.
What if what if you put frosting between two Thin Mints? You made it
What
like
flavor is the
I don't know
frosting, Peter?
if you guys at home can maybe tell that I were kind of craving a certain type of snack. Hey Jake, I'm gonna blow your fucking mind, and this will be it's the last Oreo they'll ever make because no one will survive. But you take two Oreo cookies, and instead of the stuffing, it's Biscoff cookie butter.
They must have Biscoff Oreos. They
Let's
have
find
that
it.
has to exist.
Yeah. Oh no, this is they don't have it. They have like Lotus sandwich cookies, but that's not a it's not Biscoff Oreo.
Biscoff Oreo. Surely, surely it must exist. If it doesn't exist,
They have Nutella Oreos.
if
They
it
have Nutella Oreos.
doesn't exist, it's got to be the only reason I can think of where it would not exist is that Biscoff won't license their spread to Nabisco.
British. They're British, so maybe they should make Biscoff Hydrox.
But they do, yeah. Lotus does make a Biscoff, what essentially is an Oreo, but with Biscoff cookies,
Yeah.
and they have one that is Biscoff on Biscoff.
Bisc off.
Righty. What's our next trailer?
Our next trailer is White Man Can't Jump. I know we could talk about
another
things, reboot.
another weird reboot. Like, you know, House Party is another movie from this era that got a random reboot. And
It's just that time. We're coming in on 30. That means the media is now pandering to our nostalgia. The age of the 90s revival is here. In the 2000s it was 70s. In the 2010s it was the 80s, and now it's going to be the 90s.
yeah,
Prepare your asshole.
the general consensus on this was that this didn't need to be remade. Judging from the comments, absolutely no one wanted this, and the like to dislike ratio, which is 465 up to 2.8 thousand down.
Yeah.
For a 40-second trailer that honestly didn't like
show anything.
show anything or look egregiously bad.
Yeah, it's it really doesn't look that bad. But like, I guess maybe we should watch White. I've never seen White Men Can't Jump,
Neither have I.
so maybe it's a fucking classic. Who knows? No one can tell.
It's
There's no one on this
impossible to
earth.
know.
Hmm. The Medium, you mean?
Yeah, Paint is a weird movie, and that I think it's trying to be artistic, and it stars
Hmm.
Owen Wilson, which usually means Wes Anderson, but
That's what
it's
I was thinking.
not
I'm like,
Wes Anderson.
I think he's just started doing scenes for the movie, and then he's like, "Hey, where?" Like he wanted to go and get a beer with Wes after the shoot for the day. He's like, "Wait, where's Wes? Where's Wes?"
Wes isn't the
He's,
director of this.
I'm sorry,
Wow.
Owen. He's not on this. He's not on the movie.
Wow.
What? Yes.
Yeah.
Pussy Magnet?
I
I
don't
don't think
think
so.
so.
I think that's the comedy of this
I
is
think
like,
he's a pretty devout Christian.
yeah, he's a pretty chill kind of dude. Um in romance.
Well, it's you know what this movie. Well, I think it might kind of end up being with. I mean, it reminded me a lot of Walk Hard,
Yeah.
which is kind of like a caricature parody of a well recognizable figure, and then like
Hmm.
a biopic or a serious life drama
Or like a
about
genre,
them.
kind of like like a genre parody.
Yeah.
Um yeah, it's interesting, it's odd. This also kind of reminds me of Anchorman in that it's the character who was very popular in the 70s doing a classic 70s thing is now being challenged by by a female who's going to upset the status quo. But it's no. Yes, but his name is definitely is explicitly not Bob Ross. Yeah,
Oh,
his he's Carl Nargle.
I mean, maybe Ross was a bit of a ladies' man. Ross was married 3 times and had 2 children. Child he fathered from a relationship he had as a teenager, and a son, Robert Steve Ross, with his first wife, Vivian Ridge. Steve, also a talented painter, occasionally appeared on The Joy of Painting. Yes, I've seen his episodes. They're not as good. So, I don't know.
I mean,
Maybe Ross did have a little bit of that dog in him.
oh,
That's probably the only time that has been said about Bob Ross. A little pit bull.
you've got that dog in him, literally. Yeah, no. If we're going with like, if we're going to continue down this road of like biopics about public TV, public TV figures and entertainers, it's a deep cut, but I want them to make the Jack Horkheimer biopic. Make the Star Hustlers movie. I dare you.
When's the Svengoolie movie?
That's true. That needs to happen. I mean, they already made Mystery Science Theater 3000 the movie.
Yes, during
That
the
was
show's run,
a while back. Yeah,
which was functionally the same thing as a regular episode.
it's just an episode.
Save there's one scene where they're actually walking through the doors in the hallway because they had more money.
That was that was the budget for the movie. Was we could afford an extra set. So good. All right, so there was only like 4 trailers.
Yeah. Oh well, there's this one
Oh yeah,
Luther. So a very old Idris Elba TV show is getting a direct Netflix movie. I'm sure this will be great. Yeah. I think that's like when he broke into the mainstream was with Luther.
yeah. Um, was the character of Luther
I've never seen the
that
show.
compelling? He doesn't. It doesn't like in this trailer. I guess it's banking on you. It really is banking on you knowing who he is because I don't know who he is, and it's not like super intriguing to me.
The show's pretty well reviewed. It's got an 8.4 out of 10 on IMDb.
Okay.
It ran for 9 years, 2010 and 2019. Jesus. I don't know.
If
Maybe we'll watch a little Luther.
I mean, it's got Andy Serkis in it, at least in this movie. It's been doing good.
DCI John Luther is a near genius murder detective whose brilliant mind can't always save him from the dangerous violence of his passions. From BBC America.
The BBC. The big interest.
Yeah, and that's trailers. That's all the trailers we have on Trae
That's
Watch.
trailers.
And now we're going to talk about how they're doing in the follow up box office.
Talking all about it.
Yep, here we go. For the weekend of February 3rd through the 5th, 2023, we have a new number 1 and a new number 2.
To the dismay of all.
A knock at the cabin, leading the charge here with a pretty paltry, to be honest, $14.1 million.
Not promising. We would spotlight it, but we'll save that for a little later.
Yeah,
It's a little bit more of a respectable movie than the number 2 here.
so appropriately, the movie about Tom Brady is number 2. Because he's shit.
Little poopy.
80 for Brady
80 for
opened
Brady.
in second. It beat
How?
out Avatar. I know Avatar's been out for 8 weeks and is not a very good movie, but it's 80 for Brady.
It feels like an Adam Sandler like scam vehicle, but without Adam Sandler in it.
Because of the Super Bowl.
Yes, so spoilers. This is our spotlight for this week, and for just an overview of the reviews. Yes, the reviews are populated very much by like old ladies who are just titillated at the prospect of the sparkling charisma of Tom Brady. Jolly old time.
So, I'm not surprised that the reviews for this movie are the way they are. You got to figure there's a lot of Patriots fans in there, and everyone knows that Patriots fans are mentally deranged. I actually think Patriots fandom is recognized in the DSM-5 as a mental illness, for which sadly there does not appear to be a cure.
Entirely fatal.
But it's led to some interesting results, let's say. And
Yes.
why don't we get to the bottom of just what the fuck this movie is, as we supple on the teat of wisdom.
Like having Patriots fans comorbid with IMDb user reviewers, that's like something straight out of Jurassic Park.
That is like
nature finds a way.
that's a movie super virus. Like that's the shit from 28 Days Later.
Yeah. I want someone to Photoshop in, but they're all just wearing Pats jerseys.
From Fr. John Challenor, 10 out of 10 review for 80 for Brady. So uplifting. This movie come out at exactly the right time, using Super Bowl and one of most accomplished sports heroes, Tom Brady. I was feeling so down, and this movie lifted me right up. When lemons fall from the tree, one makes lemonade. I'm sorry, that's all cats. Lemonade!
Lemonade.
You go, girls. The darn app wants me to write 600 characters. So we saw the movie at Paragon Ridge Theaters with full liquor bar and reclining chairs and a privacy wall between us and the next guest.
That's actually pretty baller.
I loved it.
Fucking, I would
4
watch 80 for
exclamation
Brady
marks.
if it came with a fucking full service bar and privacy screens.
Just beating his meat to Jane Fonda like it's the 70s. I wasn't done yet. There's more.
Oh, shit.
There's more.
It keeps going.
The manager went out of his way to make our drinks, which was first time ever happening a cocktail or having a cocktail while watching a movie. What a fantastic experience. 2 out of 3 found that helpful somehow.
I'm so glad they're stepping out of their comfort zone. They're doing these exotic experiences. It's true.
It wasn't a full bar, and no one mixed anything for us. They just brought us a can of Red's Apple Ale, a tall boy of Red's Apple Ale, because that was the special that day.
With a basket of coconut
It was not
shrimp.
a bad amount of booze for the money.
No, sir. Maybe I'm craving one right now. Yeah. I should get them. Go down to the gas station and get a couple tall boys.
I have some room temperature Yingling in my laundry room. I'm sure that'll be delicious.
Got some stubbies, Mike.
I think I have the new NVIDIA broadcaster thing that has the eye contact. It is alarming. I don't like it. Unbreaking, unyielding eye contact, like you're the fucking Terminator.
Remember that news reporter who had the bug eyes and just never blinked? Do you remember that?
Actually, your
Oh my
eyes do
God.
shift occasionally. Like they try to make it seem more human, which makes it seem less human as a result.
Guy Fieri.
That's Fiore.
Lady, 4 old ladies go to Flavor Town.
That's a different kind of movie.
Gives them that. Was that was it the Bronco sauce or whatever? What's like his what's Guy
Why do you think
Fieri's
I would know what
sauce?
Guy Fieri's sauce
It's
is?
his donkey sauce. That's the name. It's his donkey sauce.
Should be in a review. He's a Philly guy going to Brady movie. What the fuck? that that seems illegal.
Talking movies.
They
Yo,
come
side
out of the
note,
fucking movie screen.
we were fucking talking about YOLO Crystal Fantasy. It's getting us. It has a second season.
Oh no!
They put out a second season. Yeah, it's on Hulu.
Wait, wasn't there already 2 seasons of that? No, no.
No,
It just
no,
felt
mate.
like 2 fucking seasons.
Season 2's on. It's on.
It's on. It's definitely not on.
All right, sorry. I actually fucking love that. That sells that whole thing for me.
You know, it would just make me fucking flip my lid if that is like a social media guy for Chili's. Like that's the avant-garde advertising he's pitching to his bosses.
If it is, it's working. Because like, if I think I would know everything I need to know about this movie if I walked up to someone and they said, "Yeah, I watched it, but I would rather have compromised with my wife and eaten at Chili's."
Saved my money and ate at Chili's. Would have been better off
A
saving.
mediocre. I don't know.
It was going to cost me an expensive dinner if I had just taken her to Chili's. She would have gone off my dick about it. No.
That's Red Lobster. It's Chili's is one step up from Applebee's.
I would say Applebee's at least tries to present itself as being fancier than Chili's.
I guess, but
I think it's like Fridays is the least serious, and then slightly above that you have Chili's, and then a little bit above that you have Applebee's. And I think Red Lobster is kind of on the same.
If we're talking
level
about
as
presentation,
Applebee's.
maybe, but I can't advocate for Applebee's food.
It's really not the. You know what? I don't hate Applebee's food, and it's not great, but 2 for $20. That's a good deal.
You know what, Kurt? I have a gift card for Applebee's. I will absolutely give it to you.
All right, fine.
Because
Sure.
I'm not going to go as a single man to Applebee's for dinner
I've done that
anytime
before.
in
It's
the
a
near
bad
future.
time.
I'll go and
but
get a
in my
get a
defense, I
martini.
only did it because the power was out in my apartment and I had an electric stove. So I was hungry and it was dark in my apartment. So I was like, you know what? I'll go to Applebee's. I'll sit at the bar. I'll have a drink. I'll flirt with a waitress and I'll go home.
It's a perfect night. Um,
Of course they have rules, Jake.
and
So they don't place a limit on it, but that doesn't mean they have to serve you.
yeah, you will by the end of the heat death of the universe, they will serve you unlimited unlimited wings. Um,
That's actually, you
you,
know what, a
you have a boneless
slightly
to pick with them.
genius way to like offer that deal, but not actually lose your head on chicken wings. It has to be. Like, chicken wings are so expensive still because, all the birds are dying of the fucking flu because our fucking industrial chicken system's really good for getting a lot of chickens, but it's not so good for, like, warding off disease.
Yeah, concentrated chicken cooperies. All right. Oh no, I adore these. Let's keep going. Just stay on the tangent.
You know what?
Shake
I
it
would
off.
I would buy
Shake it off.
I'd buy her latest album if she brought the price of eggs back down under $1.
The the egger's gonna egg.
There was a time in my life, not that long ago, where I could get a dozen eggs for like 74 cents. And now it's like $6.
Luxury goods,
All right.
just like luxury
Proceed.
reviews. From N. James Gentry. um, 4 out of 10. Cute movie, but boring at times. While I absolutely love the cast, I'm not a sports fan. The characters only watch and discuss football, so I zoned out a few times. Sally Field will stand out in this film. She's smart and quirky and has very funny dialogue. It's a cute movie, but it would have been better as a Netflix comedy. It does have some emotional depth as well. Lily Tomlin delivers a wonderful speech about how she came to admire Tom Brady, which will make you tear up. It's not just about sports; it's about friendships and how far you'll go
Are
for
you
the
the guy from
people you
Vertigo
love.
now?
What?
Are you the guy from Vertigo now?
Yeah. Plus, watching these incredible actors together will put a smile on your face. 7 out of 14.
You sound like the fake Twilight Zone episode
Yeah.
where every mathematical equation's 19. You sound like the dad from that.
Who's the guy
Which
who
is a
plays
very specific cut, but one that you appreciate.
I know very well. Who's the guy who plays Barney in Barney Fife in
Don Knotts.
Don Knotts? Yeah. I think I was trying to channel a spirit of Don Knotts in
Channeling
that.
Don Knotts. From Stanley Cup Bruins. I wonder what state he lives in. It's a feel-good movie for Patriots football fans and those that enjoy comedies. Outstanding movie, and it really hit home since Tom Brady retired for the second time. Each of the actresses did a great job, which includes Jane Fonda. I felt like I was at the Super Bowl. 80 for Brady may be the Top Gun Maverick of 2023. Even if you aren't a Brady/Patriot fan, you'll like this movie if you have an interest in football. Yes, Gronk is in it too. Great soundtrack from Dolly Parton, Belinda Carlisle, Cyndi Lauper, Gloria Estefan, and Debbie Harry. Not only is Tom Brady an outstanding football play, but he's also a great, likable actor too. Recommend, see it with loved ones. Peace and love, go Pats. I added that last part. 21 out of 52 found that.
Wouldn't surprise me at all.
I realized halfway through doing that I haven't quite repaired the walls between my Boston and like Jewish Brooklynite accents. So certain words that I'm more keyed into with the Boston accent, I was able to keep going with, but there were other things that were bled over.
A little cultural diffusion there. Mm-hmm.
You're going straight Jewish grandma. He got you good because it was. Well, you were calling him. Wait, no, never mind. I didn't get you good. But he's tripping you up.
No regrets, not even a single letter. Were those words?
Sorry, what was that?
But go to Chile.
Would it change the calculus if the interior were crocodile and alligator, and you were able to drive a Chevrolet to said movie theater?
I like that was the softest 1 out of 10 review I think you've ever given, Jake. Like that was. Oh, okay. That makes more sense.
It.
Gotcha.
But even for a 3 out of 10, that felt very generous. It almost was like the offer felt bad for the movie. It was like, nah, it's okay. You have value. Doesn't.
You're worth something. All right, and then finally, from I think the name is B Bribozo, but I like to think of it as BB Rebozo. 6 out of 10. Just watch the trailer. See, now this person knows. They know what they're on about.
This man watches Saturn Studs Podcast.
If you've seen the trailer, don't bother seeing the movie. All the best moments in the movie are strung together in the trailer. The 4 stars, are great. How could they not be? But the plot is just a series of loosely
How
connected
could they
and
not
poorly
be?
set up situations that the various actresses stumble into. The repeated appearance of two amazingly unfunny disc jockeys slowed things down considerably. If he puts his mind to it, Tom Brady can do anything. So I'm sure he'll be a great actor in about 10 or 20 years if that's what he wants to dedicate himself to. But giving him an emotional soliloquy at the end of this movie that would have been challenging even to an experienced actor was beyond Brady's current acting limitations. Very improbable plot, which I suppose I should have expected, except that they repeatedly emphasized that this movie is based on a true story. Yeah, maybe like the Wizard of Oz is based on my recent flight from Cleveland to San Antonio.
Yeah.
Ah, I'd welcome another movie by these 4 extremely talented and engaging actresses, but one that very talented writers, producers, and directors have given some thought to. Oh, and if you absolutely insist on going to see this movie, don't watch the trailer. It's worse when you've already seen all the best jokes. 1 out of 3. You hear that, Tom Brady? 10 or 20 years, you could be a good actor.
I don't think that's going to be what he's doing. He has a 10-year deal to be a analyst on, I think, Fox. And he's going to
Sure,
make.
you'd understand. Nothing is impossible through Brady.
He's
He can do
going.
anything he sets his mind
Through
to.
Brady, all things are possible. So why don't you go ahead and write that down? Tom
Oh,
Brady could totally do that. Yeah.
oh, that's
Go.
80 for Brady.
So, park the car, or I'm sorry, pack the cod, have it yad, and uh, stay
Get
away.
yourself a mouthful of Guy Fieri's donkey sauce. Just enjoy.
I don't want
Um,
anything called Guy Fieri's donkey sauce just on principle.
and yet there it is. I remember when we looked at his the menu for his New York restaurant, and
It was I don't remember what the thing about it was, but there was a thing about it.
yeah,
It's great radio. I've got a way with words. Should totally do a podcast.
trash can nachos, lobster lollipops. Oh God, Morgan's Creek salad. Yeah. Oh, it's it's that kind of shit. And they put all the crazy ass descriptions in there. But anyways, we don't want to talk about any this overblown, overdescribed, mediocre stuff. We want to talk about Avatar: The Way of Water.
Yeah. And number 3, 11.3 million, down another
How
30%.
could this
In
happen
its
to
8th week,
me?
2.178 million. So it's probably going to hit 2.2 million. It's
Billion.
having, or billion, yeah, sorry.
Yeah. I was
It's
like,
it's having a nice little run here, but I don't think it's going to get much higher than 2.2. It's definitely seems to be slowing way down at internationally, and movie theaters I think are going to be more motivated to get this movie out of there because of the runtime, to run another like movie
like
that
2
will be
movies.
popular, but they can get 50% more showings out of.
Yeah. I was gonna say, like, what a calculated like run out. They needed 2 billion and they got like just about exactly $2 billion.
Well, they're gonna make a tidy $200 million profit on it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, visual effects aren't cheap. Every shot in this
James
movie has
Cameron's visual
very.
effects, especially, are not cheap.
They had to like. They had to. Yeah, they had to invent several technologies to.
All the underwater CG rigging. Yeah.
The tooling costs alone were astronomical.
I mean, well, I mean, that's like I think that's kind of why we always were talking about this 2 billion mark, which was um for them it was their break even or continue working point. So like that's their where they mark their
Allegedly, yeah.
ROI as being sufficient enough to reinvest in their next series.
Yeah, I don't know. So like, I know he said it. James Cameron said it in an interview, but people sometimes like misspeak or like don't necessarily uh literally mean what they say. Like
Mm-hmm.
2 billion could have been what they told him. If he hit that, we'll make the other ones, and so he assumed that's what profitability was. Um, or it could have been like I got reamed out by accounts payable at Disney Corporation because I spent $2 billion making this movie and advertising it. But I could see where this movie would be that much more expensive than an Avengers movie to make. Like, I'm not calling Avengers a light effects movie by any means, but literally every shot in this movie has heavy visual effects. And they released several high frame rate versions of this movie. And even if you're producing a movie at 48 frames per second, and it's the same runtime, that means you're rendering twice as many frames. And the people who do that make money. So it's yeah, Disney.
We're just gonna do cats with Puss in Boots.
Yeah.
It's powerful.
So the $250 million budget is like production costs,
Mhm.
but you got to figure there's a lot of advertisement. That's expensive. You can spend a lot of money on advertisement. Um, yeah, I'm sure there's other costs associated to like I don't know, they move money around. Like I think the total money put in by Disney in the birthing of Avatar 2 was $2 billion? Probably not. but um, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Hollywood accounting is notoriously uh, fishy. Let's say, like Return of the Jedi still hasn't turned a profit.
Awkward
Technically,
is is that is that like their dating status? They're like yet to come.
it showcases BTS's massive free show at Busan's World Expo in October, which welcomed more than 50,000 in-person guests. Yet to
Yeah,
come
I mean
in
it's
cinemas.
K-pop, and K-pop
I feel
pulls
like I feel like this is
pulls
just a
crowds.
bad translation. So like I think it's like first time in theaters or the first movie sort of thing, but it doesn't translate super well from Korean would be my guess.
Maybe, or maybe it's like the name of one of their singles or something. Who knows? Yeah, it's a very weird title, but fucking people people lining up for them.
Uh, uh. That's why there's so many people in these K-pop boy bands because you got to take that in shifts. No one person can come that much. Wouldn't that defeat the purpose of going?
It's like one of those. It's like one of those carnival games where you have to pop the balloon.
Somehow, Peter, what you said was worse than what Jake said.
I have a knack for these things.
I, I think we're about to. I think we're about done discussing this.
Let's not talk more anymore about yetting to come. Let's talk about Puss
Puss in
in Boots.
Puss in Boots, crush it. Yeah, yet to come, crush that puss.
Still, you gotta go see it, dog.
Very like good retention. Like my God,
The memes came out to play.
it's total. Yeah, total worldwide of 373 million, which interestingly, the animation style in this movie is compared a lot to Spider Verse, and that is right about how much money Into the Spider Verse made in theaters. It
That's a
actually might be
crazy
a little bit
coincidence.
more. I want to say that made like around 350. Okay. So it did make a little bit more than Puss in Boots has so far. But a couple if Puss in Boots keeps its current trajectory, it will pass Spider-Verse.
He called an audible.
I think that yeah, I would think that's in the green for how expensive I envision this movie to have been. Yeah, it's the banger, bro. It's a lot of money. A horror movie. Yeah. Well, I think the whole reason they made Megan is because they don't. There's a weird rights issue with the Child's Play franchise where I think Sony owns the rights to the first one, but none of the sequels. So they wanted, or Universal rather, owns the rights to the first one and has the television rights, but they want their own franchise that's basically the same thing that they can own. I don't know who owns MGM actually. Right. Okay, so they have the sequels? Okay, so I guess I had that backwards. So I don't know why they basically made an identical franchise to one they already own. Yeah, they did it 2 years ago. Yeah,
Yeah, it was like okay.
they have the TV show now too, which
Oh,
people like.
I think this is different enough where it's not the same thing because like one of the appeals of Chucky was that like he was like a real like potty mouth trash talker.
I guess. Yeah, I don't.
Um, and it's that kind of vibe where he's just like a real asshole about everything, and this is it's a different kind of feel.
No, it's not voodoo. It's just it's a robot thing, which I think ironically is what the remake was essentially.
Yeah, it was like a
Killer Clown. You've had killer clowns. Now have the killer cloud. Oh, that's a good that's not a bad tagline. We should be working in the movie business. I pitched a dynamite Anchorman 3. Jake's cooking up killer taglines. Let us make Duck Duck Goose, damn it.
tic tac toe corpses in a row.
Motherfucker. I
We
will
just need
make
to
you
grab.
$200 million, Sony.
I need a bucket of speedballs and a fucking and a Prius, and we go to California.
We're just a couple projects away from exploding.
You know,
Excuse me.
Peyton. Pie. Shout out to the good job. Shout out to the amazing Maurice.
Amazing
A movie that
Maurice.
didn't get there because I didn't hear anything about it,
Yeah.
and no one knew. This is like an animated feature
Apparently
from a company that like is trying to break into the game. Were
it's
they the ones who did the Luck movie?
I don't know. There's I can't read it cuz the thumbnail here, let me see if I can find a full res. Um but it's got some sort of Sundance branding on it, but when I try to read it on the thumbnail, it's too blurry for me to make
Oh,
out.
that's fucking scary. Holy shit! I saw it like an actual thumbnail, and good Christ, just look it up on YouTube.
Um
He's got a like a disgusting Cheshire grin.
Official selection 2023 Sundance Film Festival. So it was just selected to be there. Which, I mean, is not nothing, to be fair. I don't know if it was received well at Sundance. So looking at it now,
Oh, this is a Terry Pratchett joint,
and
or the book is at least.
all the people watching, so it's from Sky Cinema, which I know Sky is like the cable provider in the United Kingdom,
Yeah.
and it looks fairly okay. They're going for a Pixar meets claymation kind of style. It looks like some of the Tim Burton animated movies.
They got the
And
English boys out for
yeah,
this.
they got the British Dream Team out here. You got Hugh Laurie, Amelia Clark, David,
Tenet.
yeah, Himesh Patel, Joe Sugg. Actually, I don't recognize a lot of these people.
Rob Brydon.
Oh, yep, Rob Bryan.
Yeah, so this is, you know what? I'm glad the overly star stuffed animated feature has made it across the Atlantic Ocean, and now other
Yeah, I guess
countries have enough cast to be able to do it.
there's a
Where you
couple.
throw every popular actor in as a voice acting role, and everyone gets a credit.
There must be a couple of places. 1,700 feet, really? Okay. Playing in the U.S., I guess. It's no surprise to anyone, I'm sure, to find out that it's made the majority of its money internationally. And I bet you, if you gave me two guesses, I could tell you which country. From Viva Pictures.
Y'all remember? All right, barely tangential, but before we get on to tech news, one thing. Y'all remember Viva Pinata?
Yes, and I knew that's where you were going to go. I almost cut you off
Thank
and
you.
said, "Are you going to say, do you remember Viva Pinata?" Because not only do I remember Viva Pinata, I remember the fact that there was a TV show spin-off of Viva Pinata.
I remember. Oh, I knew it as the TV show first. I thought they made a spin-off game about it.
I want to say the video game came first.
Okay.
Viva Pinata. It was.
That was a big.
Oh,
Oh, was
was
it
actually.
PlayStation? I
I
thought
think
it
it
was
was a
Xbox.
360 exclusive, I believe. Viva Pinata, first release of Viva Pinata was November 6th, 2006. Yeah, it was one of the early 360 titles.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
And developed by Rare. So this was like their first big next gen project since Microsoft bought them. And you know, it has its fans.
It was pretty well received in its time.
Show. It's reviewed pretty well. Viva Pinata TV series, which almost co-released. Also ran on 4Kids, which would be the Fox block, 2006, 2007, and then on the CW 4Kids in 2008. All right, on to gaming news.
Gaming news.
I only have a few stories that I pulled out here because I have a review. And
Okay.
I'm going to try to keep things tight. Modders have used AI to put voice acting into Morrowind, and the results are surprisingly not the worst. They're not great. Like it definitely doesn't sound like a human necessarily. However, it does kind of sound like bad bombastic voice acting from the late 90s in video games. So in a way, it's really on theme.
Inadvertent. Yeah.
Oh yes, I think we've definitely reached the point where I'm officially worried about how quick this has all happened.
Yeah. I mean, around Thanksgiving, right? We were throwing stuff in.
Yeah, we were throwing shit into Dali. I remember exactly what kicked it off. Like in our group, at least, I made a comment about how Sammy Sosa looks like a fucking Cuban mortician these days, and then Peter typed into Dali Sammy Sosa as Emperor Palpatine.
Yeah. And it took off from there. And now here we are, and like ChatGPT is like doing a little bit of disruption. It's very much the AI right now
Invalidating
is the
several
way that
career
the internet
choices.
was in like the 90s, where it's right now it's a wild west where there's a lot of right to be concerned about, or at least cautious about what's going to happen to it. But this is where all the crazy shit is going to go down, and in the next, I guess, 5 years, we'll see what the dominant mode of usage of this is going to be. Mm-hmm.
The lighting's too good. Well, see, that's the thing that scares
The
me most
digipot.
about deepfakes is like the fact that you can literally put words into people's mouths and fake footage against it. Like it becomes much harder to discern what is true in the world. But there are, on the same token though, like there's call for that. Like people who maybe aren't very artistically talented but want to like commission art for whatever hobby they're working on.
Mhm.
For example, this guy uh, wanted to get uh, art for proxy lands and Magic basics that had bunnies on them, and there's nothing out there.
No bunny lands.
There's a
So
frightening lack of bunnies in Magic in general.
that's fair enough.
I do. I have Ellie, Bunny Princess. No, no, that's not the real. No, there's.
Oh yeah, Gawain.
I have a Gwendolyn de Courcy.
Gwendolyn DeCourcy.
Yeah,
DeCourcy.
I have a altar. That's my rabbit Ellie, and the card is called Ellie Bunny Princess. Yeah. I feel Peter's analogy was pretty spot on. We're kind of like in the early internet days of this, or like even early
Mm-hmm.
video share, like like Napster and LimeWire stuff running all over the place. And there's gonna be some wild shit happening. Hopefully nothing like irreversibly bad happens, because like there's a chance for that to happen. This isn't quite harmless, but I suppose in the early days of the internet, there was a chance for really bad shit to happen too. But I think in like 10 years or so, it's going to shake out, and AI is going to be mostly uh, a cost saving measure for corporate entities.
Yeah. Can we have an AI CEO? Corpo bots. And I'm not talking about the DAO, which is they wanted to create an autonomous system for running companies and running organizations using Bitcoin. And you can guess how well that worked.
So the thing about ChatGPT is that it answers questions with a lot of confidence, but it's not always right. Well, I'm referencing kind of like, so Linus Tech Tips did a video about it, and they were like, okay, I'm going to get Chat GPT to walk me through building a PC, and it had some very good information, and um, it was largely correct in the procedures, but there were a few critical things on which it was incorrect. But because the rest of the information was good, and it has the same like confidence interval for everything it says, like there's potential for things to go sideways. Speaking of, well, I guess not speaking of things going sideways, but thinking of making new things, there is a fan remake project going on that seeks to remake the entirety of Jedi Knight Dark Forces 2 in Unreal Engine 4.
Interesting.
And right
Dark
now,
Forces 2.
yes, which is a banger of a game.
Mm-hmm. I know a lot of people also like it's interesting because I feel like a lot of people prefer Dark Forces 1, like the original one. But
I think it
it's
might
pretty
have had
close.
like
Like
a
no one
better story, but Dark Forces 2 definitely played better, to my memory at least.
that was the switch from 2D like Doom style to like Quake style, right?
Yeah, it was maybe even a little bit beyond Quake, more like Unreal levels of well, maybe not quite Unreal
Because
levels of graphics.
they're about to remake it.
But
Yeah, it
the
was okay.
the
So I want to make sure my timeline was right on that.
yeah, no, like Dark Forces 2, far more like 1997 looking PC game
Yeah,
versus like
like Dark Forces 1 kind of
93.
looked like a LucasArts adventure game.
Yeah, kind of. But the progress on the remake looks incredible. It completely changes the game. Like it's a complete and total remake, and it looks fantastic so far. And the first two levels are playable now, so you can go out and experience it. This fan remake is coming from a developer named Rupertal, who mostly tinkers
Yeah.
with Arma mods when they aren't remaking 90s PC classics from scratch. Top of that, you can currently play through 2 levels from the original game in the remake. And on top of that, there's 4 wave-based survival levels and a sandbox mode. And you can view the 3D models in the game in case you want to marvel at the poly count compared to the original game. Um, videos, double cross and Noshadar. Yeah, it's robust
It
and
looks pretty good. The only thing that I mean, my only like grumble with it, and this is just a me thing. It's just got that motion blur.
hopefully you can turn that off.
Yeah,
Um,
I just don't think it improves the graphics. But other than that, like the fact that they added all these really nice lighting effects and filled out a lot of those details that you'll want to see from an upgrade like this,
yeah,
where you move from.
there's certainly like janky animations and some like rough around the edges kind of visual things, but the fact that it's made from scratch by a dude or even just like a couple dudes it's very impressive uh for where it is, and I hope they continue with the project. I would love to see a full game of this. I know there was a similar effort not too long ago to remake Knights of the Republic in Unreal 4. I don't know if whoever was working on that kind of like pumped the brakes after the Coda remake was announced, but at the rate it's going, we're never going to fucking see that Coda remake. So I hope they continued on. I don't think they had even finished Terrace. I think it was kind of like just a tech demo where the upper city of Terrace, you could walk around in it, but I don't think they had kind of like uh, fleshed out the entire world to make it playable. Um, and there's a lot beyond Terrace in that game. So that's probably not coming anytime soon. Hogwarts Legacy is a very anticipated title that's come out recently, and unfortunately, PC port is in a bit of a sorry state. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, Harry Potter people are very passionate about their hobby. And
There's
oh, it's because of, J.K.
yeah,
Rowling's.
yeah. Um, I will like as a little bit of context that though, I think it people have those folks have their argument bolstered by the fact that J.K. Rowling is like explicitly she's put out messages on Twitter saying like, "Hey, thanks for the royalty checks. I look at them every time someone complains about my views." So she's like explicitly linking like what she's doing politically to the profits from her games. So she doesn't want to disconnect the art from the artist.
Well, I feel like that's retaliatory though. Uh, she's been so embattled, and like whether you agree with her outlook or not, um, there are ways to go about
There
that,
certainly are.
and harassment and that sort of
Oh, I
thing.
thought you were going to say there's ways to go about getting this game
Well,
if you're that worried about it.
no, but I'm just like in general, like you don't have if you disagree with her, more power to you. Um, but like I know for a fact that she's had some heinous shit slung at her from people, and even if she herself is saying some heinous shit, that it's not appropriate to do that. So I can see her like reaching a point where like, well, fuck you, I'm getting paid. Yeah.
It's definitely a quagmire of that kind of reaches into the whole ethical consumption under capitalism, um, and the ethics of buying stuff, the ethics of boycotts.
But this game, she had nothing to do with this game other than like creating the world in which it is set.
Right, but she's also saying like she's glad that she's connected to it, and she's happy
Wouldn't
to
you
be
be
profiting
glad
off
that
of it.
it's that something you created made money? Like just because someone has controversial opinions on things, uh, does that mean that like they can't exist anymore? Like
I think like I get it. I I don't know. I've always had this conflict because
like the
um
people who are hurt by boycotting this game are not her. Like Harry Potter is out there in the world in so many ways. Like it is the one thing that makes Disney Parks executives' eyes twitch because as soon as they opened the Wizarding World of Harry Potter at Universal Studios for the first time in like 50 years, profits on like Disney's transport system from the airport to the Disney Park resorts went down. So that's making money for her hand over fist. The people you hurt by not buying the game are the developers that put years of their hard work into making this game, which by all accounts is pretty good from a game design perspective. Far more money than this game will make. It definitely doesn't hasn't made traction.
mhm. It definitely has been a recipient of
I
the
have
Streisand effect.
I have not seen I have not seen this many like I'm on a lot of different like gaming Reddits and like I'm seeing so many Hogwarts Legacy posts. Like I haven't seen a game with this much hype behind it in a while. Yeah, my boss was like, I've been following this game's development for years, and like I'm pre-ordering it. I'm like, don't do that.
Now that's one we can boycott
Yeah,
is pre-orders.
yeah. But back to the PC performance issues. It it's fairly characteristic of a game that has de novo DRM in it, which is a very popular DRM because supposedly it's hard to crack, but they're day one torrents of de novo games now. So all it does is like push people to piracy because it tanks performance of the games it's installed on. But even on high end systems, um, people are experiencing really bad stuttering, and once they get to Hogwarts, really bad FPS drops. It does appear to be far more prevalent on NVIDIA graphics cards than AMD graphics cards. And there are some workarounds. Some people have reported that enabling DLSS has fixed some of their issues in terms of performance, uh, which I usually have DLSS on anyway because it's free performance basically. Um, but it's another example of what's becoming more and more of an industry trend with just very lazy, haphazard PC ports that don't run well. And like it's possible. Fucking Doom Eternal can run on a goddamn toaster at 60 FPS on high settings.
Yep. I think it may. There's probably actually videos of
Probably. I've seen Doom Eternal running on like the fact that the Switch port of the Doom Eternal like even exists is amazing in its own right. But I've seen like it's called the Ein Odin. It's an Android emulation tablet that's pretty decent, but it's like a $200 thing. And you can put Windows on it, and I've seen that running Doom Eternal at native resolution at high settings and getting 60 FPS. It's possible to optimize your games, baby. And very quickly, because we're running long here, I almost hesitate to get into it, but I'll do a truncated version of my High on Life review. I've recently finished that game. High on Life is a decent game. It borrows a lot of mechanical elements from recent FPSs such as Doom Eternal and Halo Infinite. It is very much like Borderlands in that you will either connect with the humor and enjoy the characters because of it, or it's not going to click for you and you're going to be annoyed all the time. By default, the gun dialogue, both enemy and gun quip settings, are adjustable in your settings, thankfully, but they're by default set to frequent, which is, at least for the guns, way too fucking much. They never shut up if it's set on frequent, and I couldn't even make it through the first level on default settings. I had to turn it down. But you can turn it all the way down to like they only speak for story reasons. The cast of voice actors for the guns is pretty good. Of course, Justin Roiland voices Kenny, which is basically the same. It's Morty. It's that voice. But you have JB Smoove voices one of the guns. Tim Robinson voices one of the guns, and I love his fucking character in the game. It's a very Tim Robinson character. And it's fucking perfect, and you can like see him in the voice acting booth giving these some of these lines.
I can probably picture in my head now just his general vibe.
So they're pretty enjoyable if you turn the frequency at which their dialogue happens down. The story is pretty blah. Aliens come to Earth. There's an international drug cartel that turns different species into psychedelic drugs, and they've come to Earth and they're using humans to that end. And you're this protagonist and their sister escape and have to go on an adventure to save Earth.
The human race.
Pretty basic stuff. There's not really any story beats that stand out as being particularly exceptional or moving. They're really more vehicles to get through like the levels, which are pretty blandly designed. The game doesn't look bad, but there's nothing really special or interesting terribly about the level design. Mechanically, the game's pretty solid. Enemy variety is a little lacking. There's basically different categories of there's two factions of enemies to kind of. There's the early game gang, which gets reused a couple times, and then there's the G3 cartels minions. And as you progress further in the game, they introduce a couple of new um, enemy types, but for the most part, it's the same enemies the whole game, and they're not particularly. It's not. It's a very easy game, even on the hardest difficulty. There were only a handful of times where I had to reattempt different fights. Um,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and
Is it like I wonder if it's because they styled it as like kind of a comedy game
maybe I
that they
feel like
wanted to make sure everyone could see everything.
they just wanted to. Well, like I could see that for the default difficulty. The default difficulty is really easy. I ended up turning it up to hard mode because
Mm-hmm.
it was just too easy. But even the hard mode was pretty easy, and I'm not like the best FPS guy. I mean, I beat Doom Eternal, which is like a badge of honor kind of thing, because that game's fucking hard. But this game really felt easy in that regard, which I guess kind of works for the type of game it is. Like I wasn't really expecting a really well fleshed out shooter. I'm actually kind of pleasantly surprised by how well, you know, it handles movement and that sort of thing. The gunplay is kind of eh. Uh, None of the guns are particularly satisfying to use, and a couple of them are really weird. Um, but it makes up for it with the humor worked for me, and there's a lot of fun voice actors like Zach from Smiling Friends, Michael Cusack. I already touched on JB Smoove and Tim Robinson. Um, so a lot of recognizable voices if you've watched some of the things we've watched on the show.
Yep.
And I laughed a good number of times at a lot of the jokes. There's some pretty decent stuff in there, but overall, it's a very shallow experience. Like there's weapon mods and I guess some upgrades you can buy, but I never bought anything that wasn't like in the path of a mission. And I never really felt the need to do so because the game's not particularly challenging and you didn't need any of the upgrades. And
Right.
the whole thing can be finished in like how long to beat has it at 9 hours, but really if you're moving through everything and not like stopping to gawk at the fact that you can watch the entirety of 4 separate movies in the game,
Yeah.
um, you could probably finish it in 8 hours. And at $60, that's a tough sell. It is
Yeah.
available on Game Pass, which is how I played it. If you have Game Pass, I'd say it's worth the whirl. Try it, see if you like it. But if you have to spend your hard-earned money on this, I would say wait till you can get it for like $20. I don't think it's worth any more than that, to be particularly
Yeah.
honest. So I'd give it like a 6 out of 10 if I had to put a number on it. Just
Make it hard to beat
which
the
is
shooting.
maybe a little higher than I would give our feature movie here today. You people.
Yeah. I almost like part of it's that we run it a little long, but like I almost just don't want to talk about this movie.
Yeah,
It's a little hard,
we'll
but
just we'll go through it in broad stroke. Like there really isn't a whole lot to dissect with this movie.
mhm.
It's just kind of a collection of semi-humorous things woven together
It's
with a romantic comedy story structure and
right.
a really forced attempt at sending a social message, which is kind of confusing.
They sent
Oh, there no one's
and not in
likable in
like a
this movie.
funny
Well,
way,
actually, Jonah
you know.
Hill is his character's kind of likable. Yeah, but that's compared to the other ones.
When
He's
he's
fucking
speaking in concise sentences.
yeah. they had like negative charisma chemistry. Yeah, you don't know a lot about his character.
A
Like,
lot about anyone's character, honestly.
yeah,
Yeah. When did they throw it? Yeah.
yet he never
Um,
does coke, and he never like has mannerisms of someone who does coke at any other point in the movie. They're just like, oh, he's a broker. Obviously, he does coke.
right. They set it up like he's the Mhm. Yeah. Like they set him up on one hand as that, and they also set him up on the other hand as like the white guy who's generally genuinely interested in black culture and
See,
that kind of aesthetic.
the thing
And
about his interest, like, they don't do a lot to like explain how he got to doing this
that would have been
podcast
great. Yeah.
about black culture as a non-black guy, and like what his interest in it is. Like, I feel like they were trying to make him seem like a really, like an ally or whatever.
Yeah, like a down to earth kind of like he's just
But it
interested in
kind
it.
of comes off because you're just thrown into it like, oh, he does this podcast on the culture, as he calls it, and he ends up with a black girl, and it just kind of feels like Jungle Fever. Like, it doesn't, despite the
I
like they gave him a couple of like soliloquies to where he's like, oh, I just feel so understood by this girl. I met this girl, she's great. She just happens to be black, but like they really hammer home that he's like into black stuff.
I don't even think it's that. Like it almost feels like he's their point of connection is like they like the same shoes.
Well,
They're
no,
like they're both into
their
the same
meet
kind of there's a
cute
lot of
was,
shoe shots in this. There's a lot of talk about a lot of sneakers, a lot of footwear, a
yeah,
lot of
although
foot
I did kind of
shots.
chuckle at the fact that he took his sneakers off before he got down on his knee to propose because he didn't want to scuff them.
Hmm.
There was some legitimately funny stuff in this movie, but
It was
it was
few and far
just
between.
so much shit you had to wade through to get to it. Oh yeah, it's like secondhand embarrassment. The movie.
In the bad way.
Yeah,
Like there's stuff like Meet the Parents, right? Where
yeah.
that's a good example of it. Where it's the I think right that's the uptight parents who have high expectations, and the
Well,
bumbling
it's
but
the
genuine
yeah, it's kind of
character.
it's more similar with the dads, the very intimidating dad figure that you're
Hmm.
trying to impress, but you kind of keep fucking that up.
Right. And the thing I think they miss about that is that um, they just I think they need to turn Eddie Murphy's character up just a smidge, just a little bit. Like I there's there's an honest it's honestly good comedy to have them just busting Jonah Hill's chops.
Yeah,
Like
like we were talking at work today. Like, the one good scene they had together was when they were in the car and they were listening to the radio, and Eddie Murphy pretended he didn't know the name of that song, and he tried
yeah,
to get Jonah
Kanye's
Hill to get
"Fellas in Paris"
it.
as Anthony Fantano paraphrases it. And that was actually a meme probably around the time this movie was being written. Um, you see it on YouTube where it's like and they photoshopped it in for like Anderson Cooper on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and the $1 million question was who was in Paris, and
Yeah.
the options pop up one by one, and when none of them are are the explicit term, he's like, oh.
Which is kind of, I have an interesting insight into this movie as a man who does not belong to either ethnic group, but has dated both a black girl and a Jewish girl in his lifetime. it was
Is
not this awkward for me either time. It was
I was gonna say, like, how irreconcilable were these racial fjords?
well, I mean, she was a black girl in Clifton Park, so like we were all kind of white.
Yeah.
Yes, not caricatures.
Mhm. His
Yeah.
or his birth name, yeah.
Talking about how his kids aren't black enough, or the people in this place aren't black. Like they came on strong with his race, and they like tried to make Julia's character just as that, but they made a big mistake, and that's they had the scene at Temple on Yom Kippur in the beginning, and they kind of established Julia Louis Dreyfus's character as just being a socially retarded,
Just
bumbling
socially
idiot
oblivious. Just
kind of person. And it's very easy to read her racism, her microaggressions, as just her being oblivious socially. And they kind of like make that seem like a generational thing because Jonah Hill's character is also hella oblivious socially.
yeah.
Who for
He has
some reason is obsessed with Exhibit. I didn't understand that.
the one joke there. Yeah. It's
Like
the remember
that
that
conversation was so fucking weird because like that
and
was the
not in a funny
second
way.
thing out of her mouth, and it's like where's the comedy in that situation other than well that's awkward, but it's not like a situation where it came up organically in conversation. That was like very much a part of the scene is how inorganically it was brought into the
Yeah.
conversation.
Um remember yeah, which was the whole character flaw, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And which this movie is just so obsessed with race.
Yeah.
Like
Did you guys
it must be
you guys remember that
exhausting.
movie Crash? It was
Yes.
it won an Oscar, and I never watched it, but from what I've heard, it was like almost in the same way. It was like this very like it was just slinging like racial tension just everywhere for drama.
Yeah.
Um yeah, 2004, I believe. Yeah, and it's just like racial tension the movie.
Well, I
like
think.
unneeded and like weirdly out of
Well,
place.
isn't it about like the LA police,
Yeah,
which have a really well documented spotty history of race relations?
right. But it told the story in like this. The criticisms I've seen is that it told the story in a very blunt way without a lot of nuance.
Oh, I'm sure like
And
that happens in a lot of these movies, unfortunately. If you had them be like people, like I guess this is kind of
yeah,
like a I'm going to get on my soapbox. This is Kurt Bennett's guide to fucking racial harmony. Treat people like people and just like talk to them as people.
yeah, they had.
And there's no character that's kind of like a neutral touchstone for the audience.
It's like the closest thing is Mo, which
Yeah,
is like
his
his
brother,
friend.
right?
No, Mo is the podcast
Oh
friend.
no, she's definitely not the normal touchstone.
Well, she's
She's
supposed like she's put in the story as that, but yeah, she's definitely like
she's fucking
she's like pro segregation.
yeah, pretty much. She's like, you went out and stole their only adult daughter as a white man. And it's like, she didn't steal shit. It's a consensual relationship. They're adults. Like, her character is so.
Mhm. Like
Yeah.
that's funny. The Tron wedding that was a good little bit.
Oh, I love Dion Cole. Dion Cole's great.
Uncle,
Um,
it's the thing. It's like a lot of the jokes that landed for me were the ones that really didn't have anything to do with the premise. Um, I did laugh at one scene. There's one scene where I was just like, I leaned back and just howled because this movie is like it's a slug. It's like beating me down with these. It's not even anti jokes. It's just sads. I'm calling them sads because I felt bad at the end of these scenes. And then it comes up with their big product placement, which is Southwest Airlines, and it's this big wide shot of a Southwest plane as they go to Vegas. And I yell out to the void in my apartment, Southwest, the airline of irreconcilable racial differences. Um, and I couldn't get that brand association out of my head. I'm like, is that really what you're putting your name on here? And then in that scene, they're talking about how like Akbar comes in and he's
like a
the
fucking sociopath.
yeah, and he does the whole thing, and they're commenting about it afterwards, where he's like, "That's the kind of guy who will like stab you in the back and get 9.5 hours of sleep." And then it pans over to this other dude who has nothing to do with the scene. He's like, "Yeah, I've done that.
Yeah.
I've done that."
I looked up
And
for my
it's this
Switch.
side joke, just this little quip, and it's so much more like concise and right on the nose, perfectly timed. I was like, damn, that was a good joke. That was really funny.
Yeah, like I feel like the ingredients were there for this movie to work, but whoever wrote it just
I
I,
think it was the two main
I
actors.
feel like it. Oh, he directed this? He did. Okay, sure did.
Yep. Um, that's his topic of choice. Mm-hmm.
Well, in fairness, Eddie Murphy's transgressions against Jonah Hill were far worse than uh, Julia's transgressions against. Like, she never did anything that could have gotten her killed.
Yeah. The fuck, yeah. The Crip scene where he brings him into the Crip barber shop wearing the red hoodie, and I'm like, on the one hand, um, I'm glad things are at a place where they won't shoot you. They wouldn't shoot you on sight for that. They'll just be like, "What are you doing?
Yeah.
You're wearing the wrong shirt." And then he goes on. Eddie Murphy's character Akbar, he goes on like a weird rant about like being a prison bitch, and I'm like, "What?
As
What?"
he's taking his sweatshirt off, like, him taking his sweatshirt off was going to turn him into a prison bitch.
Yeah, like, yeah, I lost it there. That's what. See, I got the feeling
You
for a
know what I
lot of these
also feel
scenes.
like was riffing? There's one of the podcast cutaways where Jonah Hill is talking with Mo, and he just says to Mo, "You're extremely unlikable." And I was like, "That's gotta be riffing, because
Yeah,
that's my exact opinion of the character."
it honestly kind of is uncanny to feel if not just riffing, but it feels like the 2016 Ghostbusters riffing, where they let the camera roll and let the actors like act naturally and try and search for topics of like conversation and stuff to improv on. That's really what it felt like. Um, that's why everyone talks with a kind of a nervous, so sort of stammer, and never really, you don't really get to the point there exactly. But we kind of dance around and use a lot of words when kind of a few words could kind of, yeah, I don't know, maybe do a little better.
Exhibit was in like in one episode of the X Files. I will I will say one thing about Exhibit. He gives a killer performance in the Twisted Transistor music video.
All right, I'll check
So
it
the
out.
the
Shoot.
premise of the so there's band Korn. There's a new metal band Korn. They're not
Hmm.
great, but there was a phase in my life where I was kind of into their music,
Yeah, they're
and
popular.
they put out a song called Twisted Transistor, and the music video for that, the gimmick is that they got a bunch of rappers to play the band members of Korn and kind of like go through them promoting the album, and then Korn themselves show up as like uh executive producers being like, hip hop's really hot right now, so I don't know if we're gonna make this record. But you've
That's
got
cute,
you've got Snoop Dogg, you've got Lil Jon, you've got Exhibit, and they all fucking kill it.
right? The premise for that sounds better than this
It
movie.
is.
Much like the scene that people were really comparing this to was a subplot in like Entourage, where basically the same thing happens. Like the white guy and the black girl fall in love because of their mutual appreciation for style shoes. And also, people are comparing it to 22 Jump Street, where with Jonah Hill, where he had sex with the captain's daughter, and there's a scene where where it all comes together and they have to be pleasant with each other and pretend they don't know each other, while Captain, who's played by
Ice Cube.
yeah, Ice Cube, is just trying to barely hold back his uncontainable rage, and he's going up to the, and that's funny because he's also doing something. He's like channeling it into like something that's like observational, relatable humor, because he goes up to the buffet and they're giving him like meager portions. He's like, "What is this? What are we rationing? Two string beans? Give me that."
It's almost as
Like
if
food.
that
I like food.
movie was written by people who are actually good at writing movies.
Yeah. Um, yeah, and we should say, like, yeah, the plot of this, just like a 2 second rundown. It's the classic rom com meet cute. They have a montage where they fall in love
Even their
because the chemistry
fucking
was so
meet
bad.
cute was rough. Because he gets in the car thinking it's an Uber, and she's like, "Oh, you just saw a black girl in a cheap car." First off, a Mini Cooper is not a cheap car. They're like 35 grand.
Yeah,
And he's
and
railing into
they're
it.
like arguing with each other, and somehow
Like,
he's like,
that's
"Let's
her
hang out more."
immediate, like, if you're someone who immediately jumps to, "Oh, you got in this car thinking that pulled in front of this place of business thinking it was an Uber," you're racist.
That was, yeah, that was the first weird thing. Then they
It must have been pretty incredible if they're getting married after only dating for 6 months.
months. Yeah, and then yeah,
And
they break up, and
and
then
all they did was just like, it was a title card. You could have put any amount of time in there and it would have made zero difference to the story. But
yeah,
you chose
in
6
between any of
months.
those, oh god, I gotta mention quickly the scene transitions, the little like the faded photo transitions with the entire rap catalog that Netflix had access to between every scene, and it was like it turned in I tuned it out because it was mush and contributed nothing. um so yeah, they break up because of their families, which, like, side note, anyone who goes to like premarital counseling, I feel like one of the things they get told is like, you're there for each other, you're a couple, as you're married, you're your own family unit first,
Yeah.
and then it's the other family around you. They did not take that to heart, and they're like, even though they said, oh, we get each other, but our
We
families, they
love
don't
each
get each
other
other.
so much, but I don't know what's going to work with our families.
Like, all right, so which is weird in a 2-hour movie.
You know what
How
was
do you do
also
that?
kind of weird? Like the first scene where you meet Akbar and the rest of her family, like her mother's not there. And they kind of like speak about her in the past tense. So I was expecting her to be dead, but then in like 2 scenes later, she's just at Roscoe's.
She's
And
just there.
she's barely in the movie. She has like almost no character.
Yeah.
Like at least David Duchovny's character, Jonah Hill's dad, had a memorable trait to him, his obsession with Exhibit. Her mom, like, if she weren't even in the movie, I don't know that would make any difference.
Remember when they made the sister gay and it had no bearing on the rest of the plot?
No, it's just to be that they had to tick another box on their representation scorecard. That
As
was
if
her
they were
only
going to call
character
back to it in another
trait.
scene, and they
Yeah.
must have just cut that scene.
Her
Yeah,
being
so they,
snarky and her being gay are only two character traits.
yeah.
Well, I think they were trying to show that they make an effort to be accepting of people, which was kind of a weird angle because they were also trying to play the angle that they're closed off and not progressive.
Yeah. Mhm. What's the passive progressive, right?
Yeah.
That's the buzzword for it. And
Yeah.
adaptation.
Which like and like I don't feel like any human would ask it like that. I feel like they would
That
be
was
like, "Hey,
like
so what's up with like in a
it's
like a
like that joke in
human
Family
way?"
Guy. Y'all remember that from the early Family Guy seasons where Stewie like he goes to Cleve and he's like, "Can I touch your hair?" And Cleve's like, "Yeah," and he's like, "Oh, it's like a sheep." Ooh. Yeah. Hmm. So regardless, they break up, and then 3 months later, they say, "Oh man, all right, I turned my character around. Let's make them let's
We haven't
thrust a marriage upon
shown
them because
anything. We haven't shown anything to indicate there'd be character growth. The main characters have gone through like nothing at all, and now we've architected this apology because we feel bad for reasons that have not been adequately explained. And oh, by the way, surprise wedding. People who just got back together after being broken up for
they didn't even get together. They just said, "I'd see you," and man, I miss you.
yeah.
Darn, like that's not even getting it. That's just
They
like,
got shit they gotta work out. Like,
yep. There's baggage there. Like when we skipped right over the monologue, which should have been the real ending based on the content of the movie, where Jonah Hill goes, "Yeah, no, whites and blacks will never get along.
yeah.
Racial harmony is an impossibility in our time." And Mo's like, "Yeah, yeah."
Of course I'm right.
And
I'm
then the scene
always right.
ends,
Yeah. I wanna end here.
and then it ends with the CGI kiss, which is like the part that made waves with Reddit. They were like, "Oh," because they CGI'd the pivotal like ending kiss. They threw like confetti in front of it to kind of mask it up because I think there was something in the contract about like they didn't want to like do a kissing scene, and there isn't a lot of kissing at all. They do a lot of like
They
hugging. There's a
almost like
lot of
never
like chummy hugging.
for people who are getting married, they do not appear to like each other, at least physically. They don't really appear to be that interested in each other. Uh you people kiss. Let's see if I can find anything.
Hmm. Yep, and you hug each other instead. It's just a regular, you know. Yeah, I could sum up this movie like the comedy quotes of this movie as Rick from Bushland Adventures going, "What are you, racist?"
Yeah. I like to end here. We're gonna you get a bonus IMDb user review
Okay.
because I feel like the top featured review offers a fairly succinct summary of this movie from someone who at least purports to have a different perspective on it, or at least not a different perspective, but different life experience. 6 out of 10 from Hawken Hawken SUHC. You people. The racism actually got on my nerves. Ellipses. The black side actually aggravated me more than anything. I'm black and was almost embarrassed. They just seem incredibly racist. For all that Jonah Hill's character tried to do, it just seems as if they couldn't acknowledge it. They didn't care. He was white, and that was the problem. At one point, I almost wanted to scream at the screen. As for the white family, or side of the family, their ignorance to me was just them trying to make the girl feel welcomed in their own misguided way. There were times when this movie actually became a tad bit painful to watch. I know there's supposed to be a moral to this, but the movie almost promoted racism. They, in my opinion, wanted to turn the white mom interest into a Karen unfairly. I actually felt bad for her because she didn't realize what she was doing and it was brought to her attention in such a horrible way. Also, I think Jonah Hill's character was much stronger than Lauren London's character, Amira. Also, side note, it annoyed me that Eddie Murphy said the N-word every other sentence in this movie, but took issues with white people. I've always had an issue with this because I've just felt like you don't like it being said, don't you say it. Ellipses. 185 out of 197 found that helpful. I think that's a pretty succinct summary of the movie.
I mean, I could keep going on about this movie, but I'm not going to.
It's not worth the effort.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bad movie.
I'll just complain about it in my own time.
Don't watch it. I mean, we'll probably bring it up to rib each other or pop a laugh for the next few months, but largely I will forget this movie as soon as I hit stop recording on this episode of the podcast.
Yep. Go watch a more cinematic masterpiece like Guess Who.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah,
I think that's gonna do it for this episode of the Saturn Studs Podcast. Until next time, be well, stay safe, and party like it's 1995.
Peace.